All right, guys, this is Mr. Corzine. I'm back for the second page, the back page on that first sheet for your practice test. We want to keep practicing, and remember, you want to write down all steps, all steps. You want to practice it just the way I'm practicing so that when you take the test, you'll be able to get full credit. Okay, so here's the first problem. Running a race, Mr. Corzine is running against his son Ben up the hill in their neighborhood. Ben, because he's younger, and he gets a head start of 10 feet and runs 4 feet per second. Mr. Corzine starts at the bottom of the hill and runs 8 feet per second. How long will it take Mr. C to catch up? All right, well, this is a really interesting problem. There's all kinds of ways that you can describe this or do this, but basically it goes like this, like how far does Mr. Corzine run for Mr. C? How far? Well, it's going to be 8 feet every second. So the distance is going to be 8 times how many seconds? So that's Mr. Corzine. Okay, over here for Ben, he's going to run, how far he runs is going to be 4 feet every second. So the distance is going to be 4 times s. But remember, there's one extra thing. We're going to add 10 onto there, just like that, right? Okay. So the big thing now is, when will these distances be the same? How do I make them the same? Well, I'm pretty sure you're like, oh man, this is so hard. I don't know what to do, or this is way too much work. Actually, we've done other problems like this before, like with the health club, or with the trees growing, or with the cities and their temperatures changing. So here's what we do. We do 8s, and then we do 4s plus 10, and we make them equal. All right? So this is, you're not going to believe this, but this turns out to be really easy. How do I make these equal to each other? Well, I have an equation that says, like, I've got variables on both sides. So I'm going to subtract 4s on both sides so that this cancels out. And now I have 10 is equal to 4s because I did 8s minus 4s. And then I simply divide by 4 on both sides. And if you use your calculator, you're going to find out s equals 2.5. So let me come back up here. If s equals 2.5, then that means Mr. C and Ben will be tied after 2.5 seconds. Kind of cool, right? Okay. I'm going to put a circle around this. I know this one was a little bit messier. You've got a lot of space. I want you to make sure you write everything down. Okay? If you need to go back and organize a little bit, make sure and do that. I'm going to keep going. Here are some problems. Now you're going to probably think these are easy because you don't have to translate and write an equation. You just have to solve it. In this equation, we've got lots going on. We've got 4x minus 6x minus 5 is equal to negative 3x. I've got variables on both sides, but this side also has a lot of extra things going on. I'm actually going to combine these two. 4x minus 6x makes a negative 2x minus 5 equals a negative 3x. This is still complicated, but now I can say, oh, I'm going to get rid of this negative 2x by adding 2x. And I'm going to have to add 2x on the other side as well. So this cancels out. Negative 3x plus 2x makes a negative 1x. And that equals 5. Okay, remember, if I'm moving too fast, you can always pause at any time and you can catch up, or you can replay this a couple of times. The last thing is, since this is a negative 1x, I'm going to divide by negative 1 on both sides so that I'll just have x by itself, positive x. Negative 5 divided by negative 1 makes a positive 5. So in this case, x has to equal 5. Finally, or not finally, but the other problem that you got to work through. This one has the challenge of having the distributive property before we make it into a two-step equation. So I got to do 6 times y and 6 times 4. So we get 6y plus 24 equals 36. Now this is a two-step equation. I take care of any addition or subtraction first. So I subtract 24 on both sides. I get 6y is equal to 12. I divide by 6 on both sides, and y is equal to 2. Again, I want you to stop and make sure that you have done this on both sides. You're not just showing me like the steps over here and leaving this blank. You're not trying to do more than one step at a time. Your problem looks like my problem. All right, here's the last 3. They want you to find the solution or solutions for the variable. That means we're kind of looking, is there 1 solution, 0 solutions, or infinite solutions? Okay, let's look. For this problem right here, I'm going to do the distributive property first. 5 times 2x and 5 times 4. So I get 10x plus 20 equals 2x plus 44. As I look at both sides look pretty different from each other. So I'm thinking there's probably just going to be 1 solution. I've got variables on both sides, so I'm going to subtract 2x on both sides. These cancel out. Now I have 8x plus 20 equals 44. From here, I just subtract 20 on both sides. This cancels out. I have 8x equals 24. Now I divide by 8 on both sides, and x equals 3. Okay, how many solutions were there for this one? There was just 1 solution. Okay, well, let's go on to the next one. 6r plus 5 equals 6r minus 7. This one looks a little different, like there's something about it that looks strange. Well, even if I can't tell for sure, what I'm going to do is I'm going to cancel out, because I got variables on both sides. I'm going to cancel out 6r. I'm going to subtract 6r on both sides. Oh, but watch, they both go away. Now I've got this thing that says 5 equals a negative 7. Is that true, guys? Does 5 equal negative 7? No, it doesn't equal negative 7. So it's false. I don't want you to stop there at saying false. When you see a false statement, that means there are no solutions. Okay? No solution. Okay, last one. This one's a really easy one. 3y plus 10 equals 3y plus 10. You probably already know what that means. But if I didn't recognize that and I was like, oh man, there's variables on both sides, what I would do is I would subtract 3y on both sides. They would cancel out. Oops, both of them cancel out. Now I just have this equation that says 10 equals 10. Well, duh. Yeah, of course 10 equals 10. It's a true statement. 10 does equal 10. That means there are infinite solutions. Okay, infinite solutions. Or you could say all real numbers will work. Okay, all real numbers will work. At this point, I want you to go back and make sure the whole paper is complete the way that I have done your paper. Okay, make sure you've got all the steps in there. And if that is done, then you're ready to move on to the next step. Please do not do this paper skipping any of the steps.